The story begins with a girl named Wedy, who is in the forest trying to catch a bird. However, after some time, Wedy feels a lot of compassion and calls the bird to her. But the bird quickly flies away. A little later, Wedy's mother, Nacy, arrives and praises her, saying it was good that she didn't kill the bird because it wouldn't have filled their stomachs anyway. Nacy takes her daughter Wedy deeper into the forest. This is a critical time when a civil war is happening, and resources have become so scarce that people have to fight to survive. Amidst all this, a private organization is formed in that area. The job of this private organization is to capture all the remaining children aged between 7 to 18 years and keep them in an advanced facility. There, all the children are raised and given special training to help improve the environment and advance human civilization. However, Nacy does not want anyone to separate her from her daughter. That's why she has never handed Wedy over to the facility people, always hiding her and wandering in the forests. This fear of being forcibly taken away by the private organization keeps Nacy on the move, so she doesn't stay in one place for long. While walking on the path, Wedy's foot gets stuck in a trap, causing her a lot of pain. Nacy quickly goes to free her. Somehow, she stops the bleeding and takes her to a safe place for treatment. Nearby, there is a broken van where they spend their nights. Because Wedy is injured, she needs rest, so she falls asleep there. Suddenly, Nacy hears some noises in the sky, which turn out to be a drone from the private organization, tasked with locating all the children who are still alive. Nacy does not want these AI robots to find out about her daughter and separate Wedy from her, so she immediately grabs a gun and steps outside. Nacy begins firing at the drone, and in no time, she completely destroys it. Seizing the opportunity, she takes Wedy and moves deeper into the forest. They continue walking and eventually reach a city through a river route. The city is completely deserted, as more than half the people have been killed in the Civil War, and those who remain are staying indoors. For now, Nacy puts a mask on her daughter's face to avoid identification. Suddenly, a man appears and starts shouting upon seeing Wedy. Nacy quickly explains, "Please don't shout too much, it could put my daughter in danger." The man calms down after hearing this and introduces his son, Trey, as he also doesn't want the private organization to take his son away. So, the man doesn't tell anyone about Nacy and Wedy. Instead, he offers them shelter, and Nacy spends the night there with her daughter. Even at this time, there are still good people alive who help others without any selfish motives, but the truth of this will be revealed later. The next morning, Wedy approaches Trey, who is staring at something unknown. When Wedy reaches that spot, she realizes it's a drone that is slowly activating. Both Wedy and Trey start to run away, knowing it's from the authorities, and if they find out, many officers will come here. Wedy immediately shouts for her mother, and Nacy rushes in to rescue her and takes her inside. Meanwhile, Trey is confused about what to do in this situation. Shortly after, the authorities arrive and capture Trey. His father pleads with them, "Please let my son go," but they do not listen to anyone. Trey has no choice but to go with them into the authorities' custody. Nacy absolutely does not want to be separated from her daughter, so she continues to move forward. However, Wedy's foot, which was injured, starts to bleed. And her treatment cannot be done here at all. For this reason, Nacy ends up in a large market where not a single child can be seen, as they have all been transferred to the authorities. Then, we see a video of a boy named Paul, who is the son of Nacy's friend. Paul has recently been transferred to the authorities, and he is telling all the children that they should come here because all the facilities are available for them, and their lives will be the best here. This confuses Nacy a lot, so she immediately goes to her friend Roberta. After such a long time, Roberta is very happy to see Nacy and invites her into her home. Roberta sees that Wedy's condition has deteriorated significantly, her injured foot cannot be treated here at all. After analyzing everything, Roberta advises Nacy to hand over her daughter Wedy to the facility because her foot injury cannot be healed here. Moreover, Wedy's life will be the best in that facility since all the resources are available there. But Nacy replies, "If I send my daughter away, I will never be able to meet her." Roberta explains to her that for her daughter's future, she has to sacrifice her own happiness. Nacy starts crying a lot, contemplating what to do. Finally, she decides that she will sacrifice her own happiness for her daughter's joy, which means she is prepared to hand Wedy over to the authorities. Nacy immediately goes outside and tells an officer, "There is a girl inside, you should go and capture her." In the next moment, after doing this, the officer goes in and captures Wedy, transferring her to the authorities. Nacy is heartbroken, crying because from that day forward, she feels she will never be able to see her daughter again. After this entire scene, 10 months pass, and Nacy has become very lonely without her daughter, living a completely normal life. Every morning, she goes out to the market to sell some spices in order to earn a little money. But even then, Nacy constantly remembers Wedy, wondering how she is and whether her wounds have healed. At this point, we are introduced to a man named Wedy, who is flirting a bit with Nacy. He knows that Nacy's husband is dead and her daughter is with the authorities, which is why Wedy is trying to impress Nacy. However, Nacy clearly refuses him. Then Wedy says, "Come to the club with me after work today. I have something very important to tell you that might be related to your daughter." Nacy agrees to this and goes back to work. She arrives at a very large place where she places a doll for her daughter, as all parents keep mementos of their children. After that, Nacy immediately goes to the club to meet Wedy. Here, Wedy tells Nacy an important piece of information. "Recently, my friend got citizenship in that facility for some money, and he is living a comfortable life there. So if you want, we can also get citizenship in the authorities, after which you can live there comfortably with your daughter. We just need some money and contacts to secure citizenship." Nacy is very happy about this and starts to trust Wedy. She agrees to all these arrangements, and Wedy begins to move forward with the process through his contacts. Now we see Wedy inside the facility, living her life well. However, despite everything, Wedy still wants to go back to her mother. So she starts making a map on a piece of paper to escape from the entire base camp. Whenever she gets a chance, she includes details to help with the escape. But now Wedy goes to sleep because the warden has come to check on them. On the other side, we see Nacy walking across a very large field when she suddenly spots a horse. She goes closer to catch it. A little further on, Nacy sees a man sitting under a tree, whose name is Charlie. Charlie has called many children to him. And he started taking her far away. Nacy felt that maybe Charlie was trying to harm the children or kidnap them, so she quickly ran over and grabbed Charlie tightly. She was telling all the kids to run away while she would hold him back. But just then, a man named Leo grabbed Nacy from behind and knocked her unconscious. Nacy had no idea where she was being taken. After a while, when she regained consciousness, she opened her eyes in a tent. There were many people in front of her who kept staring at her. They asked Nacy who she was and where she had come from. When Nacy replied that she was from the west direction, they were all very shocked. They began to look at Nacy very intently, making her feel quite uncomfortable, so she started to leave. But then an old woman stopped her and told her that there was a place in the west direction where the organization could never reach. "Since you came from the west, you are a savior for us, meaning you can take us all to that place in the west direction where we and our family members can be completely safe." Nacy realized that she couldn't go anywhere at such a late hour, so arrangements were made for her to stay there. Leo even set up a bed for her, and she immediately fell asleep because she was already very tired. Now, in the middle of the night, Nacy couldn't sleep, so she stood up and started checking each tent. She saw many children inside one tent who were still there, meaning these kids had not yet been taken by the authorities. Shortly after, more ladies arrived, and when they saw Nacy's face, they asked if her daughter had also been taken by the authorities. Seeing all these children reminded Nacy of her daughter, Wedy. Nacy immediately told them everything about her daughter and how she had to turn her over to the authorities to keep her safe. The next morning, Nacy was presented before Leo and the old woman. They all began to tell Nacy that if she wanted, they could help her. Nacy was saying that her daughter was safe inside the facility, receiving all the resources she needed, and living well. But then the old woman revealed a harsh reality. She said that although the organization took good care of the children, they brainwashed them so that the kids would forget their moms and dads. After some time, when they grew up, they would be used as soldiers in the army, advanced humans with special skills that far surpassed normal people. This was the reason why no one wanted to send their children to the organization. Nacy was shocked by this and began to doubt her decision. She wanted to save her daughter by any means necessary. So when Leo started saying that if she helped them escape and took them to the west direction, they would help her safely retrieve her daughter from the organization, Nacy found this acceptable. Thus, she fixed the deal, agreeing to help them. Now we see Wedy inside the facility, missing her mother very much and wanting to go to her. But she had no idea how to escape. Just then, Wedy spotted the same bird that she had tried to catch before. Once again, Wedy approached the bird, which wasn't flying away, meaning it recognized her in some way. Wedy felt a bit happy knowing that there was a good world outside. That night, when everyone was asleep, Wedy quietly got up. Following the map she had made, she tried to escape. According to the map, she had marked everything, including what time the soldiers would be on duty. However, Wedy didn't pay attention to the alarm, which caused a loud noise. Hearing this noise, the station soldiers rushed over and captured Wedy. Now, for her mistake, Wedy was imprisoned, meaning she would have to face the consequences of her actions. Now, Wedy starts coming into her building. so that she could gather all her belongings, but she noticed that many people had already left, and they were continuously dying. There was also Roddy, who was crying a lot. As soon as Nacy arrived there, Roddy gave her a mask and told her that a very dangerous virus was spreading. Because of this, many soldiers from the facility were capturing all of them and loading them into a van, which would take them outside and kill them. So now, all of them had to be very careful. Nacy put the mask on her face and began to move forward with Roddy. She also took her very old friend Roberta with her. So the three of them kept heading towards the facility where Nacy could save her daughter. However, their goal was not looking very good, as soon, many soldiers surrounded them, and now they were being transferred into the bus at gunpoint, where other people were also present. Even though they were not infected, they would be taken outside the city. One by one, everyone was loaded onto the bus, but then suddenly Roberta saw her son, Paul, who had become a soldier and was pointing a gun at everyone to take them out. Roberta started shouting loudly and insisted on going to her son. At that moment, Roddy threw a smoke grenade, which created a cloud of smoke all around. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Roberta immediately ran towards her son Paul. But Paul, who had been brainwashed, didn't recognize his mother and simply said, "Keep your step back, or I'll have to shoot." Roberta couldn't understand what her son was saying at all. But when Roberta got closer to her son Paul, he shot her without thinking and killed his mother. Everyone present in the van was shocked to see all this. More soldiers arrived there to control the people, all of whom had been completely brainwashed and no longer recognized their family members. But shortly after, Leo and many others arrived, who killed those soldiers and took everyone in the van with them. Leo and his team were trying their best to save Nacy because she was their director. She was the one who would lead them to the safe place. Nacy had now seen this truth with her own eyes. So, when Roddy was telling her that they should go back to the facility to reclaim their citizenship, Nacy clearly refused and got into the vehicle with Leo and his entire team, heading towards the forest. Meanwhile, inside the facility, Wedy had been placed in her chamber. Shortly after, the commander came to her, showing her a video. The video clearly displayed that Wedy's mother had deliberately handed her over to the officers, meaning that the responsibility for this entire process lay with her mother. After hearing and seeing this, a malice began to grow in Wedy's heart against her mother. She no longer thought about going back to them. Wedy was truly furious about this, but little did she know that this was a technique to brainwash her. Now, Wedy started training and aimed to become the best soldier. First, all the children were made to practice loading guns, and Wedy was the first to load the gun and even started firing it. But then, another girl stood up and said that Wedy must have cheated, as no one could load a gun so quickly. This infuriated Wedy, and she went over and began beating the girl. The commander was watching all of this because she needed to make all the children aggressive in this way. After this incident, the commander separated Wedy's level from the other children, meaning she was upgrading much faster than the rest. Meanwhile, Nacy returned to Leo and all his companions and explained her plan. She said they shouldn't delay at all. Their plan was simple, to free Nacy's daughter as soon as possible, and Nacy would lead them to the west, where a safe place was located. So now, in the middle of the night, Nacy, Charlie, and Leo headed towards the facility. They planned to enter through a back door of the facility. Charlie sat down with his laptop to hack the cameras, while Leo moved inside the facility with Nacy. As they moved forward slowly, they spotted a security guard. Leo waited for the security guard to step away from the security system. As soon as the guard moved away, Leo connected the security system to Charlie's system. The way outside was clear, so everyone quickly made their way out. All the children had now arrived on the other side, where the elderly woman and all her members were ready to fight the soldiers. Within a short time, Leo, Charlie, Nacy, and her daughter gathered in one place. Wedy and all the children inside the facility had also been freed. However, the soldiers from the facility shot a red flare into the sky, signaling that many drones were approaching them. These drones were high-tech and armed with various weapons. It seemed that the drones were about to start attacking when Wedy stepped forward. She was trying to control the drones in the same way she would control a bird, and she was chanting some spells to prevent the drones from obeying the soldiers. Wedy kept telling them not to attack them and to punish the wrongdoers instead. Suddenly, all the drones went out of control and began attacking the soldiers instead of Wedy and her companions. The soldiers fled deep into the forest to save their lives, but one soldier pulled out his gun and immediately started firing at Wedy. However, Nacy couldn't let that happen. She quickly stepped in front of her daughter and took a bullet in her shoulder. After that, Leo and all his friends killed that lone soldier. Fortunately, since the bullet hit her shoulder, Nacy didn't lose her life. But now everyone believed that Wedy possessed some supernatural powers, making her the most special among them. A hope began to blossom in everyone's heart that Wedy could lead them safely to the safe place in the West where they could live comfortably. And this is where our story comes to an end.